Today's episode is extra special. It's one of the live panels from the Condor Approach where I had multiple healers, medicine carriers, retreat leaders on to speak about their experience. So I have Lauren Gallagher, who is retreat curator of Soil and Stars. I have Levita Divine Retreat Center. Goddess Jocelyn and Gaddy are here to share about what it's like running a BIPOC queer center for ayahuasca down in Ecuador. I've got Healing with Ariel, who is an amazing somatic healer, and we're just discussing some of the aspects many people don't consider or think about. So we're only 10 days out, give or take, since this conversation. I loved it so much, I wanted to share. Let us know in the reviews what you think. Some of your considerations. Do you want more of these conversations on the podcast? I want to hear about it. All right, check out today's episode. Attention coaches, healers, practitioners, and seekers, if you want a system of integration and you want to apply it to any experience, I want you to come discover the Condor Approach. It's a revolutionary method that's going to help transform every area of your life. So if you want to make breakthroughs last, and you don't want breakdowns to last so long in the psychedelic space and beyond, come check it out, because we're going to help you from preparation to navigation to integration and really break down what to track, what metrics matter in every body, because it's the most important step when it comes to growth. So come to the Condor Approach, condorapproach.com, and we will see you there, because you already know integration is not optional, but how you integrate is.
Whether you're a life coach, therapist, biohacker, invested in wellness, or in the healthcare profession, if you have an intention to work in psychedelic spaces, you're in the right place then. If you're called, get involved. But first, get informed. Let's talk the 4 N's: intake, intention, in-space integration, leading to deeper transformations. Psychedelic Coach Podcast, Todd Cole. Walk you through the process, it's all possible. Leave space for the follow through. Most importantly, integration is not optional.
So what I would love for this conversation is talking about some of the things that are working great and also some of the challenges, because it's like for Goddess and Gaddy, they're running a retreat center down in Ecuador. And I hear a lot of people come into this space and they're like, I want to open a retreat center. Maybe not. When someone else has also already done that and they do the maintenance and the organizing, and you get to show up and do your magic part, if they don't have to market and you market and bring people, that makes their job half as easy or half as hard, or however you want to look at it. Running a retreat center, like people have said that to me and tell you guys should open a retreat center or call us. And I'm like, absolutely not. If you think it's hard having contractors in the US, try having them outside of the US. When people work at different thresholds and different timings, and you come with a Western mindset and expectation, and it does not function that way. And so, especially to open up a center not really understanding the cultural dynamics of where you are is violent. And to have that expectation on people, right? And we'll talk our definition of violence. Will on Friday. So I would love to hear, we'll go Goddess then Gaddy. What are some of the things you wish people knew about running a retreat, or things that if you would have known, you just didn't understand until you got there, of some of the not so easy parts of running a retreat? And you wish anyone that was a host or anyone coming to your space knew from your perspective.
Everything.
Let me just start at the top.
So to give a little context, neither Gaddy nor I had ever done retreat center stuff. I came from a nursing background and Gaddy came from a corporate background. This was something that was literally a miracle that was answered, not something that we went. So we had no idea what we were going into when we said yes. We kind of took a leap of faith and closed our eyes in 2020. So in the middle of a pandemic, we said yes and moved to Ecuador in March of 2021 and realized really quickly how much work we had signed up for. because it's not the retreat center when the retreat is happening. It's the retreat center 24/7, 365. So it's understanding that your job is not just during the retreat, it's all the time. It's also understanding that you're holding a community, not just yourself. So the people that work with us, the shamans, the medicine makers, the people that help us with transport, all of those things are part of our community. So whatever, if we're not able to sustain ourselves, we can't sustain our communities. And so that responsibility was something that we had no idea was going to be that big. I'm trying to think of something else. You have something, Gaddy? I know you have a lot.
Gaddy's, oh, I got it.
So for me, it was very difficult, especially moving to Ecuador, and I didn't know Spanish. And we moved into a very remote area. And so letting go a lot of the amenities that we have here, a lot of the freedoms. One of the things that we were first up against is, could we actually be, because we were still girlfriends at that time, could we be girlfriends or partners out in public in this area, right? Just thinking about in terms of safety. So it wasn't just us in our personal, in the business journey, it was also how to move to a different country and understand how to just live our life as far as our personal one is concerned. And so understanding also the way that businesses run over there, because the people are very different and it's a lot slower, for instance, than it is in the United States. So building a structure in which it wasn't super offensive to the individuals over there, being able to merge the cultures even down to how I dress, was a lot, not just for the people who are around, but specifically individuals that work with us. We had to do a lot of trainings or talks just about cultures so that we could understand each other, and those that we were working with knew how to work with us. And so there were a lot of different barriers that we had to break down collectively, as well as just learn about each other. But I think for me specifically, because the culture, the language, everything was so different, it took that much more for me to learn how to be over there and be okay with us running a business over there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Lauren, I would love, so because you're now bridging retreat and coaching, because you've been running retreats for a long time. Mm-hmm. So how has it been, because you also are the organizer of the retreat, lots of them. And then what is it like becoming the coach with the retreat? What is your thought process now after running all of those retreats of reaching, not a burnout, but it's just, I can't just always do retreats. Walk me through your thought process in going from retreats full-time to now stepping into coaching spaces more.
Totally. Yeah, I have been curating retreats here and abroad for 15 years, and it's really a natural progression that in just seeing the expansion of this work and being in a place of integrity of wanting to make sure that people have been in supportive processes, that I've been more called to want to do more of the one-on-one work. But I feel like I'm sure y'all can relate to this, of just there's so many responsibilities and tasks and hats that you wear, like you mentioned, in running a retreat space and like the land maintenance and the community work. And so it's been a big part of my process at Condor to invite other people in the community to be in places of leadership within of Soil and Stars, and that's my retreat space. So that way I can do more of the integration and the one-on-one work and make sure that space is being upheld. And so it's a lot of the stuff that you guys talk about at Condor, of having the systems and structures in place so that way I can expand out and be inviting other people and training other people to be doing different tasks out of Soil and Stars, and really identifying the things that I really love, which is I love coming in and doing the group integration, but what are the millions of things that need to happen on the logistical end to make the retreat happen? And so kind of starting to build a team to, handle the food or do the flowers or do the cleanup or all the other responsibilities. So it's been yeah, just sitting down and creating SOPs and doing all of those things to really know what needs to happen. And honestly, checking in with myself around being able to trust other people to do those things and know that it's part of the evolutionary process. It's like getting over the lone wolf mentality. And that's a place that I was in for a long time of, well, I've got to do everything by myself. And I feel like Condor has really helped me rethink that and be in a structure that is actually more about community and people having more, I guess, I don't know if ownership's the right word, but really actively participating in the community in a real way. Yeah, is that a good start
totally.
with that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think that especially when people first come into the transformational space, running retreat sounds super sexy. They see the pictures of someone in Costa Rica or Peru and Sacred Valley and all this stuff without understanding the logistical aspects is actually a lot. And once you receive money from someone, you're in a contract, folks, like to fulfill the agreement of that money. And if you are not good at managing money, you may not be the best person to manage the money for the retreat, because you can get yourself in a sticky situation trying to float money for a period of time. And then the retreat center needs a down payment because that's how they project. Now you don't have the resources for them. Now they don't have the resources for their team. And it's a trickle down of trauma, actually, right? We're creating harm unconsciously, which is almost the worst kind because we're in healing work. So it's like this weird juxtaposition when you come on this side of the altar, that if you don't clean up your money stuff, if you don't clean up like being okay with saying the word contract and agreements and clarifying, because systems create safety. Because everyone knows what to expect or what to anticipate, what's expected of me, what's expected of you, while trusting we are human and imperfect, but we can be in dialogue, right? So this is really something to consider, and why, for me personally, if you want to lead retreats, you have people here that already do them. So can you come up with something that works great? You know, it's like we have one of the Condors, Miranda just sold out her retreat for them in January. Then they didn't have to market a retreat. Miranda doesn't have to do all of the onboarding and preparation because they offer that. Win-win. And then they're the ones working with the indigenous local people there to make sure that the money is dispersed where it's going. So many people are going down to Costa Rica, dropping tens of thousands of dollars, and the locals don't see that, or very little, because they're like the cleaning crew on site or the chef. Exactly. But not the community, right? And so this is just to get your mind thinking in that way, that you can go, and even if you want to take a larger group than their center can hold, they have options of other centers they can work with, but you don't have to work of the logistics on the ground, which in Central and South America is slower. And if you're trying to plan something with an American mindset, it can make you get into very unsafe feeling spaces because they don't respond for 3 months. But because for them, it's 6 months away. Like that's next year, you know, whatever. So it mitigates a lot of that, actually. When you know that you can work with people that show up, that care, that love what they do, that care for the land, that are stewards of the land and the people coming, you bring the people you know will love it, respect it, care for, in that reciprocity, not just of like finances, but of heart. Then the land flourishes, the communities flourish, and everybody can kind of grow and uplift together. So Ariel, for you, I'd love to hear, because you're coming from a healing modality where you did a lot of body work and then into energy work. What has it been like for you to start to just make some of the shifts in perspective from the type of work that you were doing, and now you're kind of shifting into a new magical realm that you were just unpacking with Taylor?
Speak to Taylor. That was incredible. It's been everything that I've needed, honestly, coming from, I feel like the work that I was doing is very solo with people, and I didn't feel like I had a community of people that were truly doing the deep work that we all do in this room. And so coming into the space, it felt, oh, this was the stuff I was missing, being a projector, having 2 generators that have created the systems for me to feel safe in. This is what I've been doing in my head and with people, and now I have ways of being able to teach it to them and helping them find safety. So it's really expanded my business in a really beautiful way. And then now it's okay, I've mastered the one-on-one, and now I've mastered how to help them integrate the work that we did. Now, how do I bring this to the masses? How do I do this in groups? And so that's what I'm here doing now, is help, not necessarily doing like full retreats like them, but how do I bring it to bigger groups? And so this has been a lot more of like internal work for me, of being safe in front of people, being safe on a microphone, feeling safe in my nervous system to be in this space. So it's been like such a feeling of coming home into my own self, of even being right now, and I'm not feeling anxious. No way I could have sat here a year ago before doing this work, and really this is the beautiful work, and to be able to give this to other people has just been so transformational for me.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm going to bring it back over to Goddess and Gaddy, because this is also a conversation in just the plant medicine, psychedelic, entheogenic space. So many people don't understand what it really is to be of service to the BIPOC and queer community, whether as an ally or participant of it, to be honest, because there is a lot of communication complication with constructs and background that, even for me, when I hear BIPOC, as if it's one versus all these micro groups of communities and peoples and lived experiences within it, for people coming to your center, what is something that you wish more people knew in, let's say that they're a retreat leader that has someone that's coming into the group that is just a demographic they haven't worked with? What are some of the more unique things that you've seen where someone came to you after maybe not having a great experience in other retreats in the States, of what they were really needing that they didn't know they needed, that retreat leader didn't know? I don't know if that's enough information for you to kind of like share from.
So I can speak from some folks' experiences, and even from mine. You know, when I used to go into medicine spaces as a queer person, in many cultures and in many traditions, what medicine is supposed to do is to change you, bring you back to hetero space. And so, you know, there has been a lot of trauma for the queer community in medicine spaces, where we have been taught that what we're doing is wrong yet again, and we've been taught to change that, and that they can cure us in medicine. And so we've experienced having people that have gone through that, and welcoming someone into yet a medicine space again, right, that they're already traumatized. They're already going through that space of, I have not been accepted, and is anybody going to try to change me again? It can be quite traumatic to people. Same with being a person of color. You know, BIPOC stands for Black, Indigenous People of Color. And so if you're a person of color, oftentimes you don't see yourself reflected in the room of medicine. Not the person that's serving your medicine, not the other people experiencing medicine with you. And so that can also be something that feels traumatic, either during the space or after. Because if you have something come up that's ancestral during your medicine, and you want to express it in a room full of people that have no idea what that means, or may make them feel uncomfortable, then it's no longer a space of safety. So if we want to talk about, you know, more topics than that, I think you have something to say about that.
One of the things that I've seen, and I say this respectfully, but sometimes there are a lot of people that come there, and one of the things that they are trying to get over is it being white people shit, as far as the experience. Because again, like Jocelyn said, excuse me, Goddess, there's not a lot of representation of individuals that are people of color. And so what we're doing is trying to get individuals to, and someone said this yesterday, remember, because this is not something that's foreign to us. We have our own medicines. Ayahuasca is not my medicine, right? That's not from my people, but my people have their medicine, and it's getting them back to the idea of utilizing plant medicine and being able to do things like connect to your ancestors and that be something safe, to be able to have very triggering conversations, if you will, especially about race and things of that nature that will come up in a lot of this because of a lot of trauma that, I'll speak as a Black person, that I've been through. And to see it in medicine and to try to reconcile with that, there's a space for people when they come to us to do that. And we go as deep as the people are willing to go. And that provides a safety for them in which they don't have to be somebody else. They don't have to pretend that they aren't hurting because their ancestors were once hurting. We can talk about things like epigenetics and how it's changed the trauma through epigenetics and how it's changed us. And there's a space and container for them to hold it. And people are allowed to be themselves. One of the things that I love when people come there is if we have game nights, we can play spades. I like that. We can dance to Frankie Beverly, rest in peace to him. We can do all of these things. And because we are embracing our culture and not just trying to shy away from it, people can relax more and more into the space being themselves. And what that does is that allows them to show up better and get more out of the experience, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And, and this is not to say that if someone comes to you that's not a demographic you understand, that you go, oh, no, I'm not like you, I can't hold space for you. That's not it. It's approaching with curiosity and honesty of what's going through your thoughts in your mind. Because if you say to someone, oh, no, but I'm not like you, so I can't hold space for you, you just othered them further, which is what they're often struggling with, versus just speaking honestly. And when I started to specifically have more Black women in my life, then when I planned a retreat, then I made my co-facilitator a Black woman that's a close friend so that there was representation of people like me and representation of people like her. Then when we started to have queer folks in the space, then I started co-facilitating with queer folks. Because it might be a queer male identifying person who then speaks to the males and the queer folks, but I speak to different demographics. When I start to see a pattern or trend, then I go, well, how can I bring more representation outside of myself into the space? And maybe not the facilitator, but what about the other team in the space? If you don't have the facilitator, right? Because when someone can see someone like them, their body relaxes unconsciously. It's not a conscious thing like, I don't see someone like me. It's actually the unconscious of don't do anything to mess this up because you're different here. And you don't want to be cast out of yet another tribe. So I need to behave here. This is that moment that it doesn't mean shy away from. It means confront, not conflict. Confront what is different. And this is where I see in the white spaces, and I say white spaces because most medicine spaces, that is the dominant experience. But I'm not just talking about skin tone. I'm talking about culture. So when I go to Utah, Ta will go to my parents' house. He's all, I've never been to an airport where even the baggage claim people are all white. That's how white where my parents live is, right? Where it's like there's literally no one even on the tarmac. And I didn't grow up there, but where they live now. But when people will say things like, I don't see color, what you're saying is I refuse to acknowledge anyone outside of myself. I'm projecting myself on you and saying, oh, I don't see color. But then what else don't you see? That is the concern. And it's not to go into a shame spiral or space like that. It's to take the opportunity, because I'm not going to say responsibility, take the opportunity to learn. And when I started to go to more events of people not like me, no matter what that looked like, and shut up and sit in the back and listen. That's it. Just pay attention. And observe what came up in my own nervous system as a result of the conversations, because it was my own identity constructs that were making me uncomfortable with certain conversations. And that's what I needed to work on. Nice deep breath. So Lauren, you have hosted so many retreats and you have a center as well. So what are some of the things that you wish more people knew as someone that's running a retreat center around care? Because for me, it's insanity when I watch people go rent a retreat center or show up and then leave trash and garbage and just things where it's like, how are we doing this work and then not being conscientious of the space? You haven't gotten a rant from me about the land here, but trust it will probably come out at some point if I see like garbage around, because like it just doesn't make sense in my narrative. So wherever that takes you.
It's been, a dream actually to have a retreat space abroad for a long time. And I have small children, and really what we realized was that we wanted to, start stewarding land where we live. And we also felt that a lot of people in our community, it was tricky for people to fly abroad. And so we did make the choice to get something up and running where we live. And to really be able to be deeply connected to the land, to care for the land, everything on our property, the space. My husband, mainly, like I'm the one who's like, hey, this would be cool if we had this, but we've built everything ourselves in a way that feels sustainable. And for me, you see a lot of spaces that are like, yes, I have had a lot of retreats in the last 15 years, but there's a cadence that's important to me around how many retreats that we have a year, letting the land breathe, making sure that we're caring for the land and we're not in alignment with every single weekend having 35 people at our property and kind of going in that direction. And that is the direction that a lot of spaces go. But for us, it's about having opportunities to be in community and inviting people in our community to work on the land, and that beyond just having retreats, being in right relationship with the space, because honestly, it is a full-time job for us to care for our property and build all the things and maintain all the structures. And so, as I know that you both know really well, it's like the weekend that the group comes or the week is a lot of effort to get it all flowing, but it's also a lot of effort to do all the things that are required on the property and be in right relationship with your neighbors and all of those components. So yeah, I think does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm just going to start asking some questions, and whoever feels like prompted or they have something to share with it, just feel free to, kind of jump on that one, or we can have multiple, because this is something that in stepping into these spaces, and I'm not sure what exactly happens once many people awaken to being connected to the earth, and then they forget they're connected to the earth, and then they want to turn it into a business. And it's being able to bridge both of those, to me, is integration. How do I take the past corporate knowledge even, don't delete it and throw it all away. It's a brilliant gift to have. How do we bring that over to here where there wasn't that kind of structure that in a supported way, without abandoning that and really bringing both together? So I'd love to hear from anyone up here of what it's like to integrate that like masculine structure that many Westerners, especially going internationally, the Westerners are still coming with with a lot of that. And then bridging this being connected to the earth, but this like integration. Does anyone have anything that kind of like pings?
Well, I don't know if I'm answering this right, but I got something and I'm going to say it. So one of the things that we started to do was to have structure around giving back to the land as far as replanting. We don't just cut down the ayahuasca in the San Pedro and utilize it for ceremonies. It's our responsibility to also go back and replant it. And that is something that we have done. So just in case you don't know, it takes 7 years for the ayahuasca vine to be ripe and for you to be able to utilize it. And right now, because of how much is being harvested, we need more individuals to be proactive and to start planting again. And that is something that we will do not just as a community, but we also have different workshops in which we will invite those that come to the retreat center to also experience things of that nature, so that they not only can help give back to the land and say thank you, but also so that they understand that it's important that we do that and not just take. Did I answer your question, or did
Absolutely.
I say something else? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that I say is only to inspire whatever pings in. That's why sometimes if I'm rambling, it's because something is coming, but I don't want to control the direction. So yes, Goddess.
So I thought what you were going to say was. So oftentimes what Gaddy says is that we are gentrifiers in our land where we live. Gentrifying oftentimes is seen as a group, particularly white group of people. But we are not from that land. Even though I was born and raised in Ecuador, I am not from Macas, Ecuador rainforest, right? So acknowledging that means to us that, one, we know we're coming in with a certain specific beliefs, cultures, way of living, all of that, and privileges. And so we're stepping into a space in which they have a certain set of beliefs and privileges and all kinds of things. So it's where do we bridge that, right? And some of the examples of the ways that we have done that is to really ask our community, what do you need? not what do we impose on you, because that's colonizers thinking, right? So what do you believe and what do you need from us? So an example is one of the people that works with us, Jaime. He's really interested in learning how to do contractor work. Well, how can we teach you how to write contracts so that you can do that, so that you can build on what you want to do because you don't have the access of what we had the access to? And at the same time, hey, how do you do this thing that you do that I don't have access to? So how do we create a reciprocal relationship so it's not just us taking or you taking? It's a reciprocal way of living.
I mean, kind of in some similar tone, there's been, I think, an important conversation around just not over consuming medicines. And there's just a point where it felt not in alignment for myself and some of the people that I co-weave with to be bringing medicine from Peru anymore, because it's not sustainable. And it's I think having these conversations around not about not being able to be in relationship with that medicine, but maybe it is about going to Peru or Ecuador and having that experience as opposed to having medicine brought here, or what medicines are native to where you live, and can you be in a relationship where you are propagating them? I think that those are really important conversations to have in terms of sustainability and entitlement and all of that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that because ayahuasca became so touristic, that people started going down to the jungle, to the rainforest, and then you start having more locals seeing the opportunity as well. So then, well, I'm a darker skinned person, so I can open a retreat center because the Westerners don't know any difference, right? Because there is still the influence of power and money changes everyone, or impacts, we'll say, influences everyone. So then what happens is we're having cities being built in the rainforest that is not designed for cities, and they don't have proper water filtration, and people are coming down with DEET and lotion and shampoos that actually destroy the fauna and flora in the jungle because they're allergic to mosquitoes, so they're spraying, but it's killing butterflies that are critical species for the ecosystem. And so this is where we have the opportunity, this is the privilege of information, is to look deeper into why you're drawn somewhere. Because me and Ta got a pretty clear message when we went to the jungle, people do not belong here. That is not what this place is for. Now, she was very kind to me. She said, no, you can visit, but I need you to go tell your people. This is not the place for population. And even the tribal communities there, their stuff all gets washed away. It's not permanent structures. And what they're talking about with reciprocity, you can ask more questions when you go to explore or find places and spaces. Because reciprocity, I feel like, is being sold as, are you giving indigenous peoples money? And that's reciprocity. That's so surface level. Reciprocity is, can you actually let that bug outside instead of kill it? That's why you'll see me pause to even move a cricket that's half dead, because I don't think that it should die here in my model. I would rather it be with the earth to complete its life cycle than in here. That's my own moral projection, but that's what feels correct for me all of the time. When I moved to Texas, that's when I started studying snakes, so I understood what was poisonous, what was actually a threat, learning the land where I am, and getting in harmony and in understanding with the land that I was on, that I'm gentrifying, even in houses that already exist. And so it's when you start to look at who you believe yourself to be, how many layers deep does that go? Really? Just for your own curiosity, right? And then the contributing to people that already live on the land, whatever that looks like, sounds, feels. I've had many times being at summits or where people are sharing and they're like, no, AI technology, we can't have cell phones with people in the rainforest or in the Amazon, it's gonna ruin them. And I'm like, oh, so you're a white person telling natives on the land what they should do? That sounds kind of the same, doesn't it? Because whoever came to the land here before saying this is how it should be done, they know they don't understand. That's not for anyone to decide. And the first conversation I had with Tume, through technology, because we don't speak the same language, but because of technology, I can hear her narrative, not somebody else's translation. I mean, it's still a translation, but you can see what I mean. Not a third party. Right, she can speak for herself. And they wanted to learn technology so they can start to film videos, so they can record their medicine music. Otherwise, it's still going through a white ear or through whoever's narrative of what to pick out or what to influence or what to turn up or what to cut out. Where in Icaros, if you cut out some of the coughs and the hacks and the whatever, that is actually part of it. That's part of what pings or opens things. And if you don't know that, you're actually taking out some of the essence because of our idea of what sounds good, right? And so when you start to really look at that and start to have more of a consideration, what education, there was one of Tume's organizers a few years ago that she doesn't work with anymore. I said, you need to sit down and explain these contracts to her and Ninawa. And he goes, no, they don't understand. I said, and this is the problem. If you don't slow down and start to teach them, this is the problem. They deserve to know how their time is being spent in the States and what the money looks like and how it gets diversified so that they learn. Because someday they're going to be managing a retreat center and other things that if they don't learn those skills, they're always going to be codependent, not interdependent, where we work together. Much of what you're being sold as traditional right now is like the last 30, 40 years. Not traditional of that lineage. No one drank it the way that we do now. And most of the ayahuasqueros, when they were the medicine men in that capacity or medicine person, they drank it, not the whole tribe, until the tribal gathering like once a year. And then they drink the whole time and they dance the whole time. They do hape, special. Ariel, I would love to know, since you're someone that works with bodies, what are some of the things you maybe have observed or witnessed if people are kind of in excess of journeying? I don't know if there's things you've seen or patterns or just you're observing that you're like, that's interesting. I feel ... That's
a great question. I feel like I noticed that a lot of people that are continually journeying are looking for something that's inside of them, and we've been meticulously talked out of it. And they've escaped themselves trying to find something. And so your original question about joining in like corporate America and healing work or whatever, it's not for me about a reset. It's about how do we integrate both pieces of that in me now, because all of it, all the pain, all the pleasure, all the things that happened before now are so important for this moment. And so many people are trying to dive into medicine to heal the pain when there's nothing to heal. There's just something to see and love and be able to process in this moment to empower you to be who you came here to be. And I think people are trying to find that, but they already are that. And so it's if I do this medicine, like what you were saying earlier, it's let me get another message. Maybe it's a different message that I need to have to be able to get where I need to go. And so, yeah, when people come to me, they come to me after trying a lot of different types of medicine, and then they're still feeling whatever they're feeling, whether it be anxiety or depression or not enough or not worthy or still have trauma from their parents or whatever, and they haven't been able to, even though they've played it over and over again through all these psychedelic experiences, it's still stored in their body. And so they come to me looking to fully integrate it. And because I don't think it's a thing that we need to let it go or let that part of us die or release this thing. It's like, how do I bring it in and hug it and pull it closer to me instead of trying to escape it or go somewhere else instead of being with it? Does that answer? Yeah.
No, that took me a while when I first got into this work of how do I exercise the trauma? Like, how do I get rid of the trauma? When really it was like, where did the fracture happen that I lost a part? And so for me, it was going back to find the pieces that I either cut off or were kind of taken, that were fractured. How do I bring the pieces back? And there's certainly been like death, rebirth things, but not me trying to kill off. It was regenerative, not to remove. And I think people want to remove. And that path really just leads to you lose organs, because you're just like, cool, the body can only do so much. Did you have something, Goddess?
Yeah, when you said fracture, as a nurse, what came up is, imagine if anytime anybody broke a bone, we just took the bone out. We'll be pieces of blob walking around here.
This would be the only toe left.
So instead, in fractures, you bring the bone back to its place as best as you can. Then you hold it for a place of time, usually 6 to 8 weeks, right? For it to heal most similar to its original form. Never does it go back to its original form because there was a fracture. right?
The nurses are like, yeah.
So yeah, that's what came up.
And there's no need for it to go back to the original form. We have this idea that we need to go back to what was perfect before when human is not perfect. And it's like that fracture is what now leads to a different type of strength that didn't exist before. Yeah. Yee.
And this is psychedelic experiences, entheogenic experiences are disintegrations. They are fractures that leave opportunity for new growth. So it's also remembering that this is, for me, why integration is so important on Western minds, is because they already have some sort of disintegrated self popping around in there. Then they go into a destabilizing experience like an entheogenic or plant medicine experience. So integration is the assessment of, does it need support and in what way? And so just like a broken bone, sometimes it needs a cast support, but the body's gonna do the healing. The person is gonna do the healing, but we may have support structures around that healing process. So if like a broken bone might need pins, they might need home support with a therapist or with additional coaching or people in their community. But the way that we're approaching integration is that people will tell me, I meditate. But if there was a bone that was out of place, I can't meditate it into place with my current beliefs.
Being in this program has done that for me, given me areas of how to support people, and that it's given me casts in ways that I didn't have before.
This is where we get to empower people to say, I'm here to support your healing process. I am not your healer. Your body will heal itself, but I can create the support so that we can get it in the best alignment for optimal use in the future, right? So it's like the most vitality, the most usability, the most functional. I have broken both of my arms multiple times. Delete, I am complete with that. Thank you so much for all the lessons. I learned from pleasure mostly. We're getting there. But there were times the bone is gonna heal no matter what. A deformity is a healed body. So someone can go into a ceremony and come out and heal deformed, non-functional. That body part, that lived experience is going to heal in a deformed capacity. So this is where people are going into seminary, well, maybe not too, and getting fractured. That checks out. Mormons, that's what we do. We go to seminary starting in 9th grade, so that checks out. We go into these experiences, there's a fracturing that occurs, but when we tell people not that the fracture's the goal, because people are coming in for the big bang, and a lot of the ayahuasca centers now are focusing on how do I make the strongest brew to get the most light show and experience so that you think you got your money's worth. Not what is the outcome of the experience, because you're not gonna leave that on TripAdvisor in 6 months. Did I get the big bang experience to get the 5-star review so that we can keep our retreat center open? I'm not saying that they're doing it out of malice. They're doing it out of understanding the constructs they're participating in. But it's so that you know, if a center may have 5 stars, but what are the reviews saying? Oh yeah, I saw a dragon. Yeah, but 3 months from now, how's your life? Most retreat centers do not know what happens to their people after 90 days max.
Cole, you said something
Yes.
once to me that I thought was really impactful, and it was that, like, are psychedelics, addictive? And it just, are people, why are people coming to these experiences? And sometimes it is for the medicine and certain levels of healing, but often, and I see it a lot, is just the desire to be in connection and be in community. And so I feel like that comment that you made has really helped me, and I think why I have stepped into some other spaces in the coaching realm, and why we're offering different things in our community that don't have medicine involved, is to be in that conversation with people of like, why are you coming to this? Is it about being in relationship with other people? Is it about working with the medicine? And so helping people really discern that, because it ties back into the sustainability with medicine. We don't always need to be ingesting medicine.
Yes.
Sometimes it's about being with another person and being held in a container with somebody.
Yes,
Yeah.
and even if you consider, and I'm gonna ask anyone in the room to raise your hand, how many of you would be interested in going to a retreat down at La Vida Divine just to replant and work with the medicine that way versus in consumption, right? this is how many centers have you heard saying, no, you're going to come here because we're going to give back to the land. That's what you are paying to come do. I'd be like, you are damn right I will come and be of service to the land and pay for it, because it changed my life, and not only my life, my family's life and his family's life, and y'all here. So that would be my honor and my privilege to come be of service. And so this is just another thing to plant in your mind for the people that you're working with. To go be of service to the land is a huge gift, and not always thinking and really framing with your folks, why are they sitting? If they're coming for community, they need to learn, or they have the opportunity to learn. You don't have to take medicine to connect, or if you always do, you won't learn how to connect otherwise. That is codependency.
One of the things we have is called a minga, and this is when the communities get together and they'll do something like plant stuff, or they'll get the roads and stuff together so they can bring electricity in there. We have had individuals that have come to our center, and they have been part of the mingas where we'll clean up the ceremonial space or our space. We also have opportunities where people can come and they will volunteer, whether or not they want to work with the animals, because we got a little Gaddy farm. Y'all, if y'all like animals, come out and see the Gaddy farm. But it's an opportunity because we do a lot of community building. And not just with us, but we do it with the indigenous people, the people who are the stewards of the land, so that we can, like I said before, continue to give back, not just with planting, but how can we help elevate their lives just in general?
Mm-hmm. Ariel.
Nope.
Nope. It can come back.
Yep.
Yeah, nope. All right, well, it went to somebody in here, I'm sure. I love that. So we're kind of coming to the end of this little chat time. So I'd like to just kind of come down, and anything that just feels resonant, not just, anything that feels resonant in your heart to share, to leave, to ask. Yeah, like a final statement for this time, and then how people can follow you or find you if they want to either learn more what you're doing or contribute or collaborate in some way.
Is that okay? This work, I got into it originally to be a psychedelic integration coach. And now I don't do that like ever. It's changed the way that I impact people and my communities around me and my family dynamics. And this work has just been so powerful for my personal experience and the way that it's came outside into my client base. And now I'm wanting to move more into the psychedelic space, which is really beautiful. So it's not just for that. And we spent a lot of time talking about that, but that's not the only thing that this is for. And if you want to find me and learn more about what I do, it's Healing with Ariel on Instagram and .com.
Thank you. And if you could say what it is you do.
I help people integrate and reprogram childhood traumas that are preventing people from being the person that they want to be. So all the things that are blocking us, that were so put in our system before the age of 7, when our brain was just recording everything around us and it wasn't even really ours to begin with. And we're just trying to have relationships and work with people and make money and love each other. And we just can't seem to do that in the fullest way that we want to. I help you find out the reasons of what that is and then how to reprogram that. And then using the Condor approach, help you create new habits so that you can support and fortify that version of you in the future.
Thank you.
I think this is a really perfect opportunity just to express my gratitude for this community, and specifically for Ta and Cole. I have always been in a leadership role in my life, and I didn't realize what it would feel like to be able to come and to be held, and my capacity has expanded in ways that I couldn't have ever imagined. I definitely could not have come last year and been on the mic like this, and it really makes me emotional to observe myself and have just done the deeper work to be able to really serve others. So I just want to express my gratitude. And so in the world, I have my retreat space in Grass Valley. I think another important thread that I've learned here is just it's all about collaboration. The do it all by yourself model is just outdated. So if anybody is interested in, co-weaving together in that way, please feel free to reach out. I'm Medicina Pachamama on Instagram, and I'm also now very devoted to long-term work, creating bio-individual containers for people to, remember their true nature and kind of what they actually are here to do on this planet.
Thank you.
So we tell people that we are not a business, but a ministry. And our purpose literally is to serve the individuals that come to us and serve those that we work with. And we don't believe that the only medicine that you get is in the cup. What we do is lace the entire experience with different places where there's medicine, whether it's through a ceremony that Goddess Jocelyn leads, whether it's workshops and things of that nature. And so we don't focus literally just on the ayahuasca and San Pedro experience, but in general, how can we be well just with different modalities or just different avenues? And you can find us at La Vida Divine on Instagram or Facebook.
Divine.
Where is Vaughn? I got the shirt on.
Oh, there you go.
La Vida Divine. Not La Vida Loca, although if you take too much.
That's after second cup on second
Second cup. For me, I want to express gratitude as well. I think, being grateful first and foremost to the medicines that have brought us together. Because without them, we wouldn't be in the circle. We wouldn't be here talking. We wouldn't be here sharing so much knowledge and having the questions. So I have deep gratitude to the medicines because they have brought us to the places where we are now, as well as our ancestors. Our ancestors have brought us to where we are, and because of them, we are here. Those two things are basically what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. How is this for y'all? We've never done a panel like this at Condor. You like that kind of vibey? Great. Because we're really looking to promote here, and as this grows, you're going to see me and Ta just shift, not step out, and start to really encourage people to share their experience and that knowledge, because it's so powerful and so potent and different, things we just wouldn't consider. And trust, that saves a lot of time and money. I love that you have that idea. Can I share my experience of what you're about to go on that cost me $20,000, and you can consider if you still want to do that? Not putting any doubt in your cup, just to say, another perspective or another situation. And again, and I know I said it earlier, we are all in a heart space that's beautiful and wonderful. When you leave here and you collaborate, please make written agreements. Please. You will make your life easier. You'll make the other person's life easier because you create consent that way. We are actually creating a consensual interaction and relationship, because everyone means well, but we don't see the same. And then when our old programming comes online because we're hungry or tired, or we are in severe deficit financially, or we've got a lot going on, or life is lifing and people are dying and whatever, that patience changes. That ability to see outside of the self changes. And instead of pretending it wouldn't, that becomes the bumpers for the bowling alley for us to continue getting strikes or the objective or fulfilling, right? So I'm going to keep reiterating it through this process, that you don't have to call it contracts if that's hard for your nervous system or your body to accept. Just say, we're going to make an agreement together so we're clear, literally. And we're hearing it through different lenses. People talk about seeing through lenses, but we hear. And for some people, English isn't their first language. So then you have context missing, or they're coming from a different place where the words mean slightly different, but it's all the difference. So to say it again and to re-articulate it, or just to restate it, that you create safety for yourself and other people by doing that from the gate. And by me saying it, it makes it easy to be like, cool, so what shall the agreement be in writing? And we have ChatGPT now to make it even easy and solidify. And we sign on it. And then just knowing that it takes bravery to be in this space. For you to even be in this room shows the amount of bravery you have had to have and to cultivate to explore these places within yourself. That also means being in a room of people that have done that much work, and where you're meeting, there's going to be some conflict at times because there is context that's missing. So if you ever need support or want support, you have people here to help you moderate and mediate and have everyone heard, so that no one has to ghost or peace out or disappear because they didn't have an agreement and now they feel weird coming because Now a deal went bad or wrong or whatever you want to call it, and someone got harmed. I know that it's going to happen, delete, maybe not know. My hope is that by having more transparency in conversations, if you understand you're going to do a retreat with Goddess and Gaddy, for example, if you make a commitment, don't make the commitment until you're sure, or communicate as soon as you know something is different than what you thought, hoped, or planned, right? I have Tume coming from the rainforest. They got here, she got into the States last week, and instead of any of us pushing, she'd rather have a break than have 4 people show up. So we're in dialogue because it's still 2 weeks away. So we're going to make shifts and changes to see if we can make it where everybody wins. But instead of waiting, we just have terms of, okay, if at this point we don't see this result, we push this button. By this point, if we don't see any sales, we push eject. So this is the opportunity for you to start to lean into those structures that in the spiritual space can end up getting avoided. And honestly, it's gaslighting the third dimensional things we have to participate in and creates more harm. So thank you all for coming and joining me up here. Give it up for everyone on this panel that didn't know they were a panel till when it was starting.